Go.
So obviously we only had a couple, I think 3 or 4 areas come in so far. Currently we lead have qualified about 1,000 votes ahead, but still very early in the night. How do you think it's the rest of the evening going?
Well, it is very early, and I think you've still got really a lot of the major posts. I mean, Birmingham, for instance, is one of the largest. You've then got.
How do you think Birmingham's going to go?
I think Birmingham will remain. I think if you look at the city the way it is, it will is a very cosmopolitan city. It's a city that's relies on manufacturing, relies on engineering employment, and so I think all those figures we were talking about, certainly in terms of the manufacturing trade, the motor vehicle trade, the manufacturing JLR that goes across and the exports to Europe. I think a lot of workers and a lot of people have interest in that. So I think from that point of view, they will vote with their heads.
And obviously at the start of the referendum you were with the Brexit party, the party wanted to leave with you, and you've obviously changed and now want to remain. I was wondering if you could elaborate a bit more what made you decide to change.
Well, I changed actually somewhere almost 2 months ago. Basically because when I saw what the Brexiteers were going on about, and it's basically a very xenophobic, immigration-based campaign. I wanted to be on the Brexit for looking at economic ties with the Commonwealth. We've got a huge heritage within the Commonwealth, a huge economy that could have built on. And unfortunately, they didn't really concentrate on that. They don't work on that at all. Rather than trying to frighten people about the gates of immigration being opening. It's actually, for that point, it's actually worse to be out of Europe. Because at the moment you've got the French controlling a lot of it at Calais. If they stop controlling that, it's going to be at Dover. So how does that make any sense? So I think those are the very sort of basic arguments that they were putting forward, which didn't make sense. And I think ultimately that signboard in front of which Farage stood, and I think all of that, I think just mandated to a very xenophobic campaign, which I didn't want to be a part of.
If obviously exit polls and a lot of polls, even Mr. Nigel Farage himself said Remain has probably clinched it tonight. If Britain does vote to leave the EU, do you think we can still survive? Not survive, but how do you think Britain's fare if we do leave the European Union?
I think in the medium term it's very difficult. I think until you set all those structures in that don't exist, if you join the World Trade Organization, then you definitely got to pay a tariff. Just for the World Trade Organization, you have to pay a tariff for every Jaguar Land Rover that we sell over to Europe, and there's at least 45% of them that we sell over to Europe. You're going to have to tax them, making them less competitive in that field. Depending on also then the further deals we do in terms of taxation for our products that we send across and how that works. So I think that's going to cause problems, and unfortunately I think also it will cause a significant problem in terms of particularly how we deal with all of our manufacturing, all of the issues that we're having to the migration, because we're the end stop. If you look at Europe, anybody coming from Syria, from Eastern Europe, whatever you want to call it, we're the end gate. And if once you come through either all of our sea borders, and we're open across the whole of our circumference of the United Kingdom, it makes it very difficult to then control any of that. And that's why I switched sides.
I mean, the final question is, obviously there's been a lot of debate about how the tone of this debate, both from both sides. Do you think the way that this has been handled by both sides will have any lasting impact on the way elections and referendums, or any voting is conducted in the future?
Well, very, very disgracefully, the way it's been conducted at the moment, and particularly loss of a fantastic, great member of Parliament, Jo Cox. I was privileged enough to actually go to campaign for her during the parliamentary elections in 2015. I met her before there, and I saw somebody who had a huge spark of life, but who understood her constituency, worked her constituency, and I saw her at an event of over 500 people, and yet she literally covered every single one of those people, saw them, met them. Very popular locally, and somebody did that. And look at what happened by the negative campaigning that's been going on, particularly sort of looking at sort of really messing people's heads around in terms of the xenophobic attitude that we've had, in terms of the immigration, the way it's been perceived and the way it's been put across, without any real facts, without any real substance. And I think in the future what we're going to do is look at that. Whichever way this poll goes tonight, it's going to be fairly close. So what we're going to then do is decide how we unite the whole of the country. And that's what we're going to be really thinking about, how we do that. If we allow it to drift the way we did in Scotland, then it'll be a huge consequence. It'll be worse than what would happen in Scotland. And I think we're really going to look at how we move that and how we deal with that. And certainly it's true for the Labour Party as well as nationally in terms of politics. It'll certainly be true for the Labour Party, and I certainly hope the Conservatives, and to a lesser extent the Lib Dems, actually join in and have a new way of doing politics. And we've been said too much, we're going to have new politics, but this really is something that's very important, much too important to leave alone and not to do a proper campaign on that.
Think that?
Thank you.